everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Hi, hello. Should also say I am a Canadian fantasy author and content creator. Hi, hello. I have 2 books out in the world at the moment, a second story and a little luck. They are 2 cozy fantasies set in Aramount, which is my fictional town, little seaside town in the world of Ravar, my world that I have created. And I have plans to publish book 3 in 2025. To do that, though, I need to pick it back up, and that's what we're doing, friends. It's time to pick back up Airman book 3. I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited to pick it back up. Y'all have no idea. I have been sitting here for a little bit. I apologize for the sound of the fan over there, but hopefully it's not too noisy for you. I have been sitting here for a little bit, for a couple hours now, just kind of pondering life. Not even a couple hours, it's been maybe like an hour, where I've kind of been just like sorting my life out, getting my brain back into the space of the story of Mary and Zanvi. And I read the first couple chapters. I made a couple notes on the second draft notes, but then I kind of got to the point where I was like, I just want to kind of like go and write and read at the same time. And if I get ideas, I'll just, for like things that I need to change, I would just do it in the moment. Because I think I remember enough of what I wrote in draft 1 and like the bits and pieces that needed to be fixed. I think I'm trusting my memory a lot with this one. And I think that draft 2 is going to be good to go through. It was also a weird moment of like, I've done this now twice where I've come back. This is the 3rd time actually. I've done this type of thing for my 2 cozy fantasies previously, where I've written a first draft and then come back for the second draft. And can I, for the life of me, remember what I did? No, I cannot remember how I approached either of those second drafts. So I'm just, once again, just going in and seeing what's happening. Maybe that just kind of happens. Like your brain just kind of erases all of what it needs to know in these bits, or what it thinks it needs to know. And then you come to it and it's a different experience every time. I don't know. Anyone out there who also writes? Is that a similar experience? Do you guys go back to your projects after a first draft, a brand new project, and go, how does one write a book? How does one do this again? So the plan here, what I'm planning on doing is this second draft. That is what I'm doing. But tonight, I'm just going to kind of get started and see where I end up. I have already written about 57 words because I've started back at the beginning, and I'm going to rejig the first scene just a touch because I didn't like the way that it started. Once I read it again, I was like, there's something's weird here. So I need to change the focus of the scene just enough to like make it work better for the book overall, because of course it's the beginning of the book. It's got to set the scene for the whole book. Now that I have the majority of the story, if not most of it, I mean the second half of this draft is a fucking mess. So I don't know what I'm saying, but maybe at least for the beginning parts are pretty solid story-wise. I know I don't want to change them, but maybe when I get to the middle of it, to the end, I'll need to reread what I have to like kind of map out what I want to do with it. It's probably going to be the more productive way of doing this. I also feel like I mentioned in a previous video when I was working on this story that I wanted to do something specific with this and like how I was going to go about editing this. Do I remember? No. Am I going to go look? Absolutely not. I'm just here for vibes. So we're just gonna get to it. But yeah, welcome to another writing vlog. I don't know how long this one's gonna go. Do I know what's gonna happen in this one? No, but we're gonna start working on draft 2 of Project Favor, Aramount book 3. I am excited about it because it's high time. It's high time we get back into this if I want to publish this early next year. So I gotta get moving in and grooving with this draft. I would like to have this draft done by the end of July.
That's a real quick no. That's a hard pass. Absolutely not.
I'm giving myself a little bit more time. It's like 37-ish days. But I also have my romance novella that I just sent off to a couple friends to look through that I'm gonna try and edit in like a week from now. To start editing in like a week from now, because I have that contest to get it ready for by the 15th of August. So things are just kind of getting in the way. But yeah, once this draft is done, I'm going to hop back over to Sage's story and actually finish that draft, because I never actually finished the first draft of that one. I barely got 5,000 words into it. I need to actively write that draft and get that done so then I can come back to this and edit this up better. I am officially back in the game for this one because I applied for 2 writing grants earlier this year that were tied up to this project specifically. In my brain, I was like, I can't start working on draft 2 because I don't have either of those writing grants yet, and those writing grants are tied to draft 2 of this project. I did not get either of those writing grants, so it is just me, myself, and I. And now that like tie to the writing grants is lifted, I wanted to get back into it, and there wasn't that block. You know, weird. The way our brains work is funny sometimes. Anyways, that's what this vlog is going to be. We're going to get back into it. I'll vlog the trials and tribulations of this, but yeah, I'm working on chapter 1 at the moment. At the moment, it is called The Keeper of the Lines, which is kind of fun. That's not what it was originally titled. Originally, it was called The Stone. So things are changing a little bit. But yeah, now I'm going to go back into it, drop myself into some music, lock myself in. I'll chat to you guys a little later. But yes, welcome to another writing vlog.
One eternity later.
Hello, friends. It's been a hot, sexy second since I last talked to you. I actually kind of forgot I was doing this vlog, which is fine because I haven't really worked on Airman Book 3 for a hot second. I mean, I have in the past couple days. I've picked it back up again, but previously I was not working on it. I did get home this past Sunday from a road trip that was 5 days that I didn't do any work during. And I kind of worked on it like briefly before the road trip, but I was mostly focused on my novella that I was working on, the holiday novella that I'm going to be submitting to Kobo in August for potentiality of being published by them. But because of that, Airmat Book 3 has kind of been put to the wayside. But last time I talked to you, I believe, was early July, if not earlier than that. And the last thing that I did, I don't think I explained to you. I got into editing the beginning of Airman Book 3, and I got to a point where I realized that I needed to stop the closer edits of the scenes and do a bigger story edit by looking at the entire picture of the story, because I have a lot of storylines going on in this book, and there's a lot of like kind of intricately woven things happening. I was at the lake. I was sitting at our table in the sunroom trying to map out this timeline type of situation, also because I know my timelines and that kind of stuff get real fucky in the first couple drafts of a book. I need to make sure that they're straight because they're not bad. They're terrible. I have a really hard time keeping a timeline down, you know? So I tried Campfire for a bit, but it was the free version and it didn't have enough space for me to do like the full book on it. And so I decided to actually write down scene by scene that I have written, because my idea was scene by scene, write down what it all is in black, and that is like how I've written it already. And then I come in with my blue pen and I'm starting to do edits that way, which is great. Honestly, because I ended up the other night when I picked up Airman Book 3 again, I sat down on my couch and I was starting to like edit closely again for the first part of it, because the first part of it, I really like the way that the story is going in part 1 of Airman Book 3. I really like the way that it works. I like how concise the arc is in part 1. So I'm happy with that, and there's not really much I need to change story-wise in there. But I got to the point where I was like, okay, no, I need to see this whole thing in one piece. So I just kept skim reading the entire story, which gave me simultaneously a little bit of hope, because I kept finding these little nuggets of that, like things that made me laugh. And then I remembered that I'm actually kind of funny when I write things, and my writing can be funny, which I never realized that I'm kind of a funny person until people tell me, and I'm like, really? Am I? Okay. But I saw it a little bit when I was reading back through draft 1, which is nice, I gotta say, because a lot of reading back through your work is just being like, what the fuck, this is so bad. Especially when it's a draft 1, because draft 1s are just a fucking gong show, right? Like, they're so bad, which is fine. It's a draft 1. You just need to get the story down so you have something to edit. So I was reading through, and that really helped me kind of get the idea and grasp the entire... This is it. These 2 pages are all the scenes that I have written. How the fuck this is 90,000 words, I don't know, because there is so much missing. As you can tell from this chunk here, I literally left a chunk because I hit part 3. I knew where like the natural scene break for part 2 would be, and then I felt that part 3 was going to be something else, and I felt where the midpoint was going to be. And then the next scene that I read, I was like, no, this is part 4. What I'm reading right now is in part 4. I am missing so much of part 3. And then I got into part 4. I don't even know where part 5 is at this point. I say this, if you don't know, because A Second Story and A Little Luck are split into 5 parts. And I want to keep that in this book as well. It's not a necessity, but because I've done it for 2 books, I need to make it a thing. Because I need to make it a pattern, because I'm a little bit like that. So this last chunk of it's such a mess. The ending is so bad. It is so rushed. There's so much introduced at the end that I need to bring into the beginning. And so having this written down so I can actually see all of the scenes that I have thought out already and like the big trajectory of the story, because I've done that as well. Where's my map? Where is my, here. This is what I did at the lake. I did a story map of like, okay, it starts with 2 main plot lines and 2 main specific like characters they're focused on. So we have Mary and then we have Thistle. You'd never believe it. You would think, wait, wouldn't it be Mary and Zanvi? No, it would be Mary and Thistle. Because Thistle is the catalyst for so many of these plot lines, and Mary is doing something at the beginning of the book that is the catalyst for a lot of things as well. And so I started like, this is nuts looking at this map. It is fucking crazy, like my hair right now. It's insane, because it was me being like, okay, I need to map this out. How are all these connected? Because each one of these storylines are interconnected with one another. Of course they are. So I think there's weird arrows like crossing over this way. There's a squiggly wiggly down here. There's whatever the fuck that is. And then all the way down here. So I'm glad that I did this though, because I need to see everything at once with this story, because it's proving to be more complicated than I initially anticipated. I'm not gonna lie. Not that it's like any more action-packed than the previous 2 books. It just has more going on. And I will tell you right now, it is probably going to be over 100,000 words. And that's gonna be something on your shelves, because A Little Luck was just over 80,000. I think it was 85 or 87,000 words. So a second story is this, A Little Luck is this, and this one's gonna be bigger. And that's a little satisfying for me, but also a little worrying, because I don't want it to be like drastically bigger. You know what I mean? Like right now, a second story and A Little Luck on the shelf. I'm looking at my author copies over here. They look really nice together, but having a book next to it that's like definitely big and chunky would just throw things off. And also, it's a cozy book. Not a lot's going on. There is a lot going on in this one, but the definition of cozy fantasy is that it's more relaxed, it's more low stakes, it's more chill. So I don't want people to get bored in places. I don't want them to get bogged down in the story because it's like dragging in any moment. So I need to trim it. But that's also another thing. When I was doing this scene thing, there were a lot of things that I was reading when I was doing this scene list in the book. I was like, no, I can cut a lot of this down. I can trim so much of the fat in this. So that's good to know, because I need to add so fucking much. And I need to change a lot. I think that's what it is. I think what I need to do is flesh out a couple of the storylines, the minor branching storylines, just a little bit more, so that they have a little bit more weight, because that's what's needed. And bring them in earlier and introduce them earlier. Have a couple more scenes. Just really do it together, because another thing that I noticed when I was reading through this in one mass swoop is that the characterization of Mary and Zanvi's relationship is very strong in the beginning and then totally loses its legs in the second half, because it kind of just, again, I am missing so much in the second half that I didn't realize when I was first writing it, that it feels a little disjointed, it doesn't feel right. And also I want there to be more characterization and relationship building with Mary and the friends as well, and the other friends that she's making in this story, because it's not just about her and Zanvi. It is about Mary finding a family with these people that she has held herself back from, the people of Aramount that she's held herself back from for so long. An unconscious type of like holding herself back. Like she just assumes that people think she's weird, so she just kind of doesn't do anything to like bridge that gap because she's comfortable. And she's been doing that for decades. And also, I will say, this has been a very interesting book to work with, because it's letting me play more in the lore of it all, of the magic of Aramount and what things really mean in the world. And it's including the Fey realm a little bit, and a little bit of their interesting politics that they have, and these beings that are called keepers. So it's letting me flex my fantasy chops a little bit more, because it's more of a fantasy book than the previous 2 have been. The previous 2 are very romance heavy. This is still focused on the romance, but there's other stuff going on that I think is going to be really good in this story and needed in this story, because without them, there really isn't a story to go on. There really isn't, because let's be honest, Zanvi just loves Mary so fucking much. He will do anything. He will get on his knees for her. And he just needs to stick around long enough to convince Mary to love him back, because she really fucking loves him, but she won't let herself feel that way. And there's no fucking relationship crisis in this book. The third act break is something different than a relationship crisis. It's to do with the other storylines, because Zanvi is gonna treat this woman the way she deserves. He doesn't think that he deserves her, but fuck does he want her, you know? Fuck, I love Zanvi so much. He's my sweet beefy man. I love him so deeply. I wanted to update you on where I'm at. This weekend, I'm going to be hopefully doing more deep dives on the story stuff of this, and like moving things around and testing things out in my brain to see where things are gonna work. And hopefully by the end of this weekend, I have a better story structure going into the rest of this edit, because I know once I have a map for myself, I can go in and take apart the pieces of the puzzle that aren't working, put them, bring back some more different parts of the puzzle, and like fit them in properly. I can move things around. I can use pieces that I've already written and put them different places, and then I can write fresh. And then once that's done, betas in September.
Absolutely not.
Hopefully September, maybe October. By then, I would hope to know about the Kobo contest so that I can go through that process with them, or if I don't win, just get it ready for publication on my end, because guess what? I already have a cover for it because I drew it myself. And I quite like the cover. I think it's quite nice, and honestly, like, it would work for if Kobo wanted to use it for a cover, but I don't draw people, so that might be an issue, and I know that romance books want to have people on the cover. I like the romance cover. This video is not about that. This video is not about that. I'm so tired that I can't even speak proper English anymore. It's just gone. Everything is gone. But yeah, that's the update. I am back to feeling love for this story. I would love to be able to work with the story and like picture it all and like really think about all the plot lines in my brain until I can like sort it into a better storyline so that I can feel that like click into gear of like, okay, this is how it's gonna go. This is what I want to do. Let's fucking go. Because I haven't really clicked into a gear of like, I want to work on this all the time. I just am excited about the book, and because I've already started marketing the book on TikTok a little bit, I am doing things too far in advance. I'm doing things too far in advance because I mean, the cover is not too far in advance. I've already sent the cover info over to Tessa so that Tessa can work on it for me, and they've already promised it back by late fall, early winter. So there will be a cover reveal before the end of the year, hopefully. And that's exciting because I'm going to have it for more time to be able to like promote it and stuff like that. Amazing. Awesome. I've also commissioned 2 pieces of art from them, 2 like illustration-y sketches, like no color, for the book as well. Hopefully they're into that. It's in the list of things that I want for them. So it's going to be a bigger project also because there's things on the cover that I want added in that are not in the previous 2 books covers, i.e. creatures on the cover, which is very exciting and fun, and I'm excited to see what Tessa cooks up for that. Where am I going? Oh, also, for the title reveal, I would like to do a title reveal this fall. And to do the title reveal, I would love to do a game. I have already made up a word search game to do on my socials when I decide to do the reveal. I'm really excited about that because it's going to be a little game. I'm going to have people like, it's fun doing word searches and like getting everyone excited about the title reveal and trying to guess the title reveal and that kind of stuff. So I'm amped to release that to the masses this fall, and it'll be on TikTok and Instagram mostly. I've already done the graphic in Canva. It's ready to go. I have a feeling that like people who guess the title will have a hard time with guessing the title, because I had a hard as fuck time coming up with a title for this fucking book. For a while, it was something different, and I ended up discussing that previous title with someone on socials. I think it was Aspasia. It might not have been Aspasia. It might have been Julie. I can't remember. It was a while ago. I discussed it with them, and they started giving me different options to fall under the same vibe, because I was like, this previous title doesn't fit anymore. It doesn't fit the book. And then I think they ended up giving me what it is now, which thank fuck, because I did not see that combination originally. And this one fits a lot better. It really, really does. But yeah, I have a feeling that people are going to find picking the title a little tricky. That's going to be really fun for me to see and like see what people guess, because it's going to be along the same lines of a second story and a little luck. So I'm excited to see what other combinations people come up with the word search as well, because I've thrown just a shit ton of words in this word search that have to do with the book and the vibes. So that'll also be really fun for them to figure out. I don't know. I have that set up for the fall whenever I decide to do it. Anyways, that's the update. We're going to hope that the story stuff goes well this weekend, and I'll have more to update you on. I'm going to do a little bit of story stuff and get myself out of this weird funky mood. Then I'm going to go to bed probably, so I'll see you tomorrow for Monday.
A few moments later.
It is past 2:30 in the morning, just past. I just spent the past hour and a half talking to myself and my phone to figure out this timeline, because I realized just staring at it with my headphones on was not enough, was not doing it. So I needed to talk it out, brainstorm out loud, and having myself, I recorded that entire thing, so I have that all in camera form. I'm gonna load it into my computer, I'm gonna speed it up so I can listen to myself, and I'm gonna type it all up. I did it. I think I figured out the plot that I needed to figure out for Airmail Book 3. A Favored Feyyy. Book 3. We have many storylines, which we have already fucking discussed. And what I've realized is that the second half of the book is missing so much depth and meaning and character work and relationship work, and is very information heavy. So we need to do that better. We need to get the relationship stuff needs to be better in the second half. So what we need to do for that is we also need to figure out what kind of romance trajectory we want for Mary and Zanvi. Like, do we want them to really be feeling each other in part 3 and really realizing how much they love each other? Like, Zanvi's already fucking done. He is in love with her by part 3 rolls around. Like, he's there, so in love with this woman. And I've been thinking that the timeline of this is going to have to be a little bit longer than I have it originally. So we're starting this at the very end of winter, where it's still crisp, there's still ice, there's still a little snow, there's no new life in the main body of Aramount, and there's no, like, you know, leaves on the trees and stuff, which is what makes Mary's garden so magical, because it is already growing and there are already things that are verdant and full of life, which is weird because obviously shit's weird. And I want this to last until the spring equinox, which is when does that line up? When does that line up in our life? First day of spring is in fucking March. Oh, so it's gonna have to be like fully winter when this starts. Okay. We're leading up to the spring equinox. Now, in everywhere but fucking Manitoba, it's fucking, people have spring in March, spring weather. So technically this would start back in like January, and it's 2.5-ish months before the ritual. But then that would leave her so much time. Oh, do I need to have her do the ritual early? And then have, oh, no. We are gonna have Mary fully miss the spring ritual. Yes, because it's like weeks out. Are we? No. Oh, the timeline is fucking me up a little bit. You know what? Should I move the timeline and have it be the summer solstice? Yeah, maybe. It's one of the biggest things in this is that one of the biggest issues is that Mary does not have the means or the time to replenish her stores, because going to the Fey realm is not it's not possible to do before this ritual. So, and that's because I had the timeline so short. But the timeline can't be short because the romance has to be a little slow burny. Fuck!
12 seconds later.
No. Scratch all of that. Scratch it all. No one gives a shit. That makes this too complicated. She just straight up doesn't have a way of contacting her grandma. That's fine. So she's like, well, fuck, I have to physically go to the Fey realm. Great. Connection. There is no way to talk to grandma. There's no way to talk to grandma, okay? So she needs to figure out a way to get to the Fey realm somehow. But she can't do it because she's not a plane strider like her mom. And traveling is not in the cards, as I've said before. Okay, great. We've removed that too complicated of a plot. It's because this is cozy fucking fantasy. That's too complicated of a side plot. There's too much else going on. Okay, part 2. We add the scene. The magic is fucky. Great. People are starting to notice an Aramount. Great. Kaylin notices. goes and is like, girly, I got you for the Mortal Realm stuff. Great. Zanvi meets Sarai. Sarai tells him all this interesting stuff about the Fey realm. Zanvi's like, that's fantastic. I don't really know why this is relevant, but it's relevant to the plot. Mary also, right, we can't add that extra stuff with grandma. That's, yeah, no, because there's something more about Mary and the tie to Thistle that we need to work with. So he doesn't get any clothes. That's going to be a note. He doesn't get any clothes when they find him. I think I've figured out this entire plot. Figured out what was wrong, what was missing, the bits and pieces in the ending that need to be beefed up more. I figured out where things need to move. Think we've got it figured out. Oh my god, hey girl. It's been a while. It's officially September. I don't remember when the last clip for this vlog was for. I low-key forgot I was vlogging in general. I also don't remember the last thing I talked to you guys about. Was that when I had like my breakthrough with the story? My god, that was this summer. Hi, I'm back. We're back. And we officially have finished part 1 of draft 2. And I am sitting at 26,547 words. I added 5,500 words to the draft today because the last 2 chapters that I was just working on were mostly pulls from the previous draft and like just fixing a few things. I like when that happens because the word count goes up so fast. It makes me feel productive. I wanted to pop in and do an actual update because I remembered that I was vlogging whenever I last vlogged. Oh, I have it in here. It was July 29th was the plot fix. That's what I wrote down in my notes. And that was my 2,800 word plot fix word dump, if you will. And it is now September 19th. And we finally finished part 1, which was the easiest, arguably less amount of work than the rest of the book part. So what that tells me is that I was just not focused on it because I had Mary and Bright to finish. I had a bunch of other things in my brain. It was a time, but we're back. And I'm going to try my darndest to get as much work on this done by the end of September as I can. I originally had a goal of finishing this draft by the end of September, but I don't know if that's going to happen unless I do literally nothing else. I can do this probably, but I don't want to ruin my mental health. So I'm just going to try and keep consistency up and keep going because I am trying to essentially keep myself as happy, as consistent and creative as much as I can throughout these months because as you guys may know, if you've seen some of my other videos, or if you've been around for a while, especially since last year and all that kind of stuff, fall is 1, my favorite season, 2, the season that bites me in the ass, and 3, the season that seasonal depression kicks the fuck in. So I hate that my favorite season is the one that gives me the most sad. And I've also found creatively, it is my least creative season. The last couple years, I have tried to create brand new draft 1s for books. I've tried to fast draft books in NaNoWriMo's season, for example, but I should also mention NaNoWriMo. I do not agree with their stance on using AI, and I will not be supporting them, even though I never really supported them ever. I just used NaNoWriMo, like the word National Novel Writing Month, for November because that's what the writing community did. I never donated any money to them. I never really used their website either. I do not agree with their stance on AI. And last year, that whole situation with the kid grooming, the only information I know about it is from Rebecca Thorne, who did extensive research. I do not agree with any of their stances in the way they tried to bury the fuck out of that. So I will not be doing any more NaNoWriMos ever. I may do a version of it, but I won't be calling it NaNoWriMo. I will be doing other things with my life and writing experiments and that kind of a thing. And now I know because I've done that experiment so many fucking times in my life where I've tried to write a novel in a month or like 70,000 words in 30 days. You guys remember those experiments? I know what that does to me mentally. It's not good. It's not healthy. I know NaNoWriMo's like whole thing, like doing that, like writing a set amount of words every day is like trying to set you up to create better habits or whatever, but that's not the way to do it. Trying to write a little bit every day, whether that is 100 words, whether that's working for just 10 minutes, it's just creating a little bit of a habit in yourself to work towards your goal and your dream and this like end product, right? That is much more healthy than hammering out thousands and thousands and thousands of words until you are an empty husk, really. So that is my stance on NaNoWriMo. I do not condone the use of AI. I do not condone their answer to whether or not they think that using AI generative software to help write your 50,000 words is good. That's not writing. Using AI is not writing. No. So I don't support them anymore. Never really will. Anyways, yes. This is what was I saying originally, talking about like the creative seasons. My creative seasons are always a shit show at the end of the year. By the end of the year, I am so like burnt out. And in previous years, trying to do like the NaNoWriMo situation or trying to make myself write a first draft in the fall was never really it. The only thing that really did work was working on a second story through the fall into the spring because I had to, because it was publishing in the spring. So I think I'm going to try to do a very similar thing with this book. Actually, I can call it by its name, I think, because now I'm releasing the title on Sunday. So, A Favored Feyyy, I am going to try with A Favored Feyyy to keep myself healthy with my brain actions and do what I need to do to keep on track without becoming overwhelmed or burnt out or any of that. That's the goal, that's the plan, because I know that these months coming up, I am my least productive, least creative, all that good stuff, because my seasons of creativity are weirdly enough in like the spring and summer, which I don't know why. I think it's because I have more time, but other than that, I don't know why my brain is so active with the creativity and the inspiration and all that kind of stuff. And this year has been crazy for that. I did talk about this in one of my recent vlogs, the yapping, scattered, whatever that vlog was. I talked about it in there, but just knowing the way that I write and the way that I am mentally coming up is good. And I really want to try and find a system that works for me going forward, because I still need to be productive. I still need to get this book out because I still want to work on it and I still want to get it done really, really well. So that's the plan. Anyways, so there's like 11 days left of September, something like that, 10. So we're gonna see how much I do get done in the rest of September. Hopefully it's a good amount, because I would like to have the majority of the draft, if not all of it, done by the end of September. But that's just it's not feasible by the end of September at this point. We're just gonna keep trucking along. We're gonna hope for consistency. We're gonna hope for good churning, keeping up with brain waves kind of vibe, because now we're getting into part 2, 3, 4, and 5 of this story, and these are 2 is less so, but like we are starting to get into the really fucking needs deep constructive work type of storylines with this. So it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be a lot of fast drafting new scenes. It's gonna be a lot of finagling, turning things around, seeing where things are going, and all that good stuff. But I also wanted to say, part 1 of this book is 26,000 words long. And I like to keep every part of my book, for every one of my books, for A Second Story and a Little Luck, they're very even. Each one of the parts are quite even. I try keep them around the same amount of thousands of words so that they sit nicely in the story where they should. So keeping that in mind, that means this book is going to be roughly 125,000 words long. To give you context, A Second Story is 58,000 words long. So almost double. No, actually, yeah, double A Second Story. I guess this is before editing and like trimming and like condensing scenes, but this is also me adding in so much more, making the story so much more and making it what it needs to be. So we're gonna see how that ends up being. We are finally getting back into the length of fantasy novels that I usually write. Most of my novels in the past have all been over 100,000 words long, which is something. I mean, industry standard is for a fantasy novel is like 70 to 120,000 words, depending on the publisher, depending on where you're going, depending on adult and YA, all that kind of stuff. And then you have like Brandon Sanderson, who writes like 500,000 words in every book that he writes. So it depends, but this is bigger than both A Second Story and A Little Luck. A Little Luck landed around 90,000 words roughly. So yeah, we're finally done fucking part 1. We are gonna ball roll. I'm going to set some goals. I'm going to definitely have part 2 finished by September, and hopefully have part 3 finished by the end of September. Those are the goals and dreams. and then we will see if I magically get like a brainwave and be like, write like 10,000 words in a day or something. I probably won't, because I haven't had one of those in a very long time. We shall see, which is exciting, because also this means that when this draft is done, it's going to betas, because oh god, I've had a couple people reach out since my last vlog, my rambly scattered one, regular reading vlog, because I mentioned in that vlog, amongst many other things that I'm rambly and scattered about right now, that I was worried about which avenue I wanted to do, finding like a sensitivity reader for the disability rep in here, or finding an editor, because I do not have the means to do both, because I wanted those writing grants that I applied for earlier this year, because that would have covered both of those for me, because it's a very expensive endeavor and I just don't have the means to do that in my budget for these books. So I was like, which one do I do? Do I do a sensitivity reader, because that's really important to do like chronic illness and chronic pain well? And then I was like, but editing, because editing is so fucking important in my books, and I really want a good editor to make these books as good as they can be. I mentioned that in my vlog, and I had a couple people reach out and they were like, hey, I have chronic pain. I'm open to helping you with anything that you need. So thank you so much to those people who reached out to me. And then Allie reached out saying that, like, I bet you could find some beta readers even who have chronic pain and use mobility aids and all this kind of stuff, who would be open to being a beta reader for me as well, which is very true, and just gave me like the sigh of relief that I needed, because I don't have chronic pain. I had chronic migraines as a kid, but I do not have Mary's specific chronic pain. I do not have an old injury, twisted nerve endings not healed right. I do not use a mobility aid. It is very specific, and I really want to make sure that I'm not doing anything harmful or hurtful to the community. And I want this representation to be good and like good, just something that people can look at and see themselves in and feel good about, you know? So thank you so much to the people who have reached out. I am so honored that you would give your time for that. So once this draft is done, that is what we're gonna reach out to some beta readers, hopefully find some ones that are specific, that have specific knowledge and experience with chronic pain and using mobility aids to help me shape this story into the story it needs to be. So that's what's up. That's the update. It's been a while that I've been kind of struggling with focus, I think. I mentioned in that vlog, I'm just gonna keep referring to that vlog because that vlog was so fucking insane. Scattered everywhere. But now that it's been a couple days now since I posted that vlog and like edited the vlog and thought about it, I have realized, which I mentioned in that vlog, that this year, even though I feel very scattered and very like unproductive and not as creative as in 2023, that is just because my productivity and creativity is showing itself in different ways than it did in 2023, and I'm handling it different than I did in 2023. This year, I have been dabbling in a bunch of different projects without actually like committing and settling into the projects and finishing them all in one fell swoop, and just focusing on that because my brain wants to focus on so many things. It wants to focus on Sage's story, it wants to focus on novellas, it wants to focus on this, that, and the other, and I need it to just focus on Aramount Book 3 for the rest of the year so that I can get this done. But I think now that we are here, and since I last talked to you with like the big story breakthrough that I had and like rewrote all my notes and everything and figured out what the fuck was wrong with the story and all that kind of stuff, I think the fact that I haven't focused on it was, one, Marion Bright got in the way, which is my little Sapphic Christmas novella, which was a complete surprise. It's gonna be in the way just a little bit until it's published in November. But I'm not gonna let it take over anything because it's basically ready to go. It's been edited. I could read it again just to check over for any remaining issues, because there's always gonna be issues, because typos will haunt my ass until I die. So I will be focusing on this exclusively until the end of the year. I'm excited to finally find a groove with this again, get back into it, and not just hit like 1,700 words here, 1,700 words in another week. Like, I want to create some sort of consistency, and that is what I think I'm going to do going forward. So that's the plan. That is where we're at right now with this story. We're going to see how we work. We're going to see how the next like week and a bit goes. We're going to see how much more words I get down, if I can kind of carve out part 2 as well. I don't know how long this vlog is going to go either, because it's kind of been going on since like July and it's September. So we'll see, but we're back, we're focused, hopefully, and we're gonna see where we go from here. Hello, friends. Happy September 26th. Things have happened since this last clip. Have I touched A Favored Feyyy since this last clip? No. I made so many promises to myself, to you guys, and just failed on every account. For very good reason. This past week and a bit, I have been the most stressed out that I've ever been in my career. I have also, for some, like, I don't know if I explained it in this past vlog or one of my weekend vlogs or whatever, but like the way that my brain acts in September, October, November, and a little December, it just kind of shuts down a lot of creative avenues. I don't know if you've noticed in the past couple weeks on my YouTube, but I have had very little inspiration for videos. This week, it's Thursday already, I've scrambled to do any videos, to come up with any content, because it's easy to do vlog content because I'm just filming updates as to what I'm doing during the weekend. I have no inspiration to do any like sit down content. I've also kind of lost a little bit of inspiration for my TikTok. I've just been kind of doing whatever comes to mind. In September, my brain has been so stuck and so stagnant in different ways, and also so scattered, so unhinged. And I had therapy today, thank God. And I had a great chat with my therapist. And one of the things that she was also like, yeah, no, this sounds like you were going through a lot and a lot of stress and all this kind of stuff. She said basically like, because, which is something that she's mentioned before, but like because we as people have specific nervous system responses built in to our lives just through the experiences that we go through, that like there's a reason why your body and your brain is doing this leading up to fall, and in fall you're going through this specific thing, and then in the new year, in the spring, you're like waking up again. And I was like, yeah, I've always equated it to like I'm going back to school, but I don't know why like my brain isn't super productive at this moment then, because I'm going back to school. I'm so used to going back to school in September and then coming out of it in the new year, especially with the 4 years of university, having my like September to December term and then January to April term. I should be the most productive I am. But then in therapy today, it clicked. And that's because like when I was in university, my creativity went completely south. I had no time for anything. All I was doing was schoolwork. I didn't have time to read. Other than schoolwork reading, because I was an English major. I didn't do anything creative like this for a good chunk of it. There were times where I would like sneak it in and like in the new year when I like nearing the end of classes and stuff like that, where I just kind of didn't care. And I would sneak in like the random novel writing in classes, which I shouldn't have done. It's fine. I passed. I'm here. But yeah, so realizing that because I'm so used to not doing anything creative during the school term, my body is like, well, there's no time to do anything creative. My brain is like, guess what? We're pressing stop on all of this. So it makes so much more sense now why my creative seasons are at their peak in the spring and summer, because that's when I had time to be creative and to do things that I love, like reading and writing and thinking of new ideas. It's literally like waking up in the spring. Right? I don't know what it was today. It just unlocked it in my brain for therapy. And one thing that September has been a lot. Been really, really busy in my work life, been really stressful with some projects in my work life. Just this past week and a bit, it has been hell in a handbasket. Also being back with teaching and having that on my plate as well. It's just been a lot all at once. And so September is always an interesting month for me, also because I had like a weird like quarter life crisis around my birthday where I realized like I kind of came to this like really unhinged feeling, and I've just been so weird in a mental state for the past month that I don't know. It was just very like, oh, I need changes. I need to do something different. I just didn't have any time in my brain, apparently. I didn't think I had any time to do anything creative, and I just would not do anything creative. And I'd be like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow's fine. And I also mentioned in my latest weekend vlog, regular weekend vlogs, that I have noticed myself falling into a freeze where I just scroll social media endlessly for hours and hours and hours when I want to be doing something else, but I can't like break myself out of it. So a combination of all of this and something that my therapist said today is like, you wanna like try break these cycles, but you do it very gently. Do it in very tiny steps. It's all about taking just these tiny little steps to be kind to yourself, because it's so hard to flip a switch overnight, especially in these ingrained patterns that you have. And these patterns that I've had. I have this pattern in me. I haven't been in school since 2019 and it is 2024. I still have these patterns in me because that's how I lived for so many years, being in school and being academic and productive in that sense, rather than being productive creatively during the fall and winter term. And so she said, my therapist said, that it's all about the little things. It's trying to do just enough to remind yourself that you have the time to do things, you can do these things, and it's building a foundation now so that in the falls to come, you kind of just build on that more, and you change that rhythm and you change that expectation for your nervous system to not be like in battle mode, getting ready for something like papers and exams and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm trying to do. And this vlog is so chaos. I started it in June. That's how long I have been working on draft 2 of this book. And I have not been actively working on it since June continuously. It's just been here and there and everywhere, because I've had Marion Bright and I've had different things happen. And then in September, this whole weird thing with my mental health and the preparation for the seasonal depression era comes in, you know, because of course this is also tied to seasonal depression, and this is when I get the most sad. So it's doing that and knowing that, coming up with this, because still I have deadlines for myself. I want to get this book done. I want to have it out to people. I want to be able to commit and do things without hurting myself at the same time, and being gentle. I think that's really just the key word, and I keep saying that in all these vlogs. I just want to be gentle to myself. So what I'm doing going forward is we're gonna start part 2 of A Favored Feyyyyy. We're gonna try and create consistency. Once the stress at work is kind of done, I'm gonna try and like bring in a little bit of consistency, whether that's working on it for 10 minutes a day or more, whatever, because sometimes all it takes is 10 minutes of working on something for my brain to lock in, and it just wants to do that. And then other days I work on something for a half hour and then it's just not working, so I change to something else, and that's fine, because then I worked on it for a half hour more than I would have done. So that's the plan going forward. I'm gonna start a fresh vlog, I think, with this, because I still want to document writing this book and all that kind of stuff, but I just want it to be real with you guys. And I promise things throughout this video, and I do funny little things with the editing, because at the beginning of the video I was like, yeah, I want this draft done by the end of July, and that really did not happen. It's fucking September 26th. I do not have a finished draft. It is just, it's annoying for me as someone who just last year was so good at hitting deadlines. So I don't know what went down this year to like change that, but we're here, we're fine, we're growing, we're learning, and we're just gonna keep trucking along. Yeah, even though I've been like really funny in this and like little editing things in this video with like not hitting deadlines, it's annoying to me that I can't hit these deadlines. It is, I know it's mostly just in my head because they're my own self-imposed deadlines, but the idea of letting anyone down, and it's usually you guys, because it's my own brain thinking anyone else is disappointed in me. I don't really care about myself being disappointed in me, but it's like a weird internalized twisty thing, because I'm reflecting on the surface, because you guys aren't being disappointed in me. I am thinking you guys are disappointed in me for not doing these things and not hitting the deadlines, and continuously have to push the deadlines, and continuously having to come on and be like, well, I planned on doing this, but I really just kind of shit the bed again, and all this kind of stuff. So anyways, that is the long and rambly way to say this vlog was something. Started out being like, we're just gonna see where this editing takes us. And then I realized that I needed to see everything in a full picture. So I did. I wrote things down. I wrote things scene by scene so I could physically see everything all at once. I wrote a map for the storyline. And then I had a great breakthrough midway through. At the very end of July, I cracked the entire story open, fixed all the shit I needed to fix. Now I just need to write it. I've finished part 1, which is the easiest part, the part that had the least changes. So here on, we are going in head first. I am not setting another deadline for myself for this because I just know I'm gonna disappoint myself again and again and again. And I don't want to do that to myself coming into the last 3 months of the year, the last quarter of the year. So we are gonna go forward, being gentle to ourselves, trying to build a little bit of consistency, and we're gonna work on Airmount Book 3. We're gonna work on A Favored Feyyy. So I will see you in the next vlog, but otherwise I hope you enjoyed watching this video despite it being wildly weird and chaotic and jumpy in timeline, and just, I don't know, it's an inside look at sometimes how the editing process begins on a new book for me, because I said at the beginning of this that I can't remember what the editing process was like for A Second Story or A Little Luck, and I really can't. It's like coming fresh to it every time and having to relearn how to do the things specific for this story. And this story demanded something very bird's eye view. I needed to see the entire story. I needed to sit with myself and talk things through and that kind of thing. And I think doing that and learning more about that specific way of doing things for myself was really good, because going forward with more fantasy leaning things, more high fantasy, more epic fantasy leaning stories, they're going to be more complex. They're going to have more storylines to interconnect than a cozy fantasy does. So I think it's going to be a good teaching lesson, a teaching tool for myself, if you will, going forward. Anyways, I don't know where I'm going with this ending, but yeah, it's been an interesting month, September specifically. It's been an interesting year. It's going to be interesting to look back when we hit December and see what we've done this year overall, what I've done this year, because I like doing that. I always like reflecting and seeing how things have worked, and it's good to reflect and see how things work and change and what you're doing and why you're doing it, because 2020 hindsight is always 2020. You always see perfectly clearly when you're looking back and realizing what things are. So hopefully I look back at 2024 when I'm at the end of it and I go, wow, no, like I really didn't realize what I was doing that whole time, and doing this has completely changed everything. I don't know. Well, it's a little thing, but yeah. So let me know down below how you guys are, if you're enjoying fall so far. If it's fall where you are, I know Australia and in the Southern Hemisphere, it's spring. I hope you're enjoying spring if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. Hopefully October is kinder to me. Hopefully I'm kinder to myself in October, and hopefully we don't have as much scatterbrain, stuck, stagnant stress. It's been a very S-word month. Stuck, stagnant, stressed, scattered. Hopefully October is calm, creative. I don't know any more C words for that kind of description. Anyways, my friends, thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, make sure to like it. Make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed. We'll see where things go from here. I'm still proud of this story. I'm still proud of what the idea is and what I have in my head for you guys. And I'm really excited for you guys to read this when I write it and have it out for you, whenever that ends up being. Whether that's in May 2025 like I have planned, or whether I have to push it a little later. We shall see how things go in the next 7-8 months. Anyways, I love you all. I'll catch you in another video very soon. Stay kind and keep on writing.